Hi, my name is Anand Venkateshan and I'm the Quant, Verbal and GK faculty for the CLAT program at Mentors Capital. To access a free mock, आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, इस वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन पे जाइए और वहां दिए गए लिंक को क्लिक करके नेक्स्ट स्टेप्स फॉलो कीजिए। हमारे सारे मॉक्स क्वालिटी की गारंटी के साथ आते हैं। ऐसा क्यों? क्योंकि पैटर्न और डिफिकल्टी में ये क्लैट के पास्ट ईयर पेपर्स के जैसे ही रहेंगे। और तो और हमारे पोर्टल पे आपको स्कोर एनालिसिस और डिटेल्ड एक्सप्लेनेशंस भी मिलेंगे। सो व्हाट आर यू वेटिंग फॉर? एक्सेस योर फ्री मॉक टुडे। जीके बहुत ही वास्ट एरिया है और इसकी तैयारी करते वक्त आपका एफिशिएंट होना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है। इसीलिए इस सीरीज में हर वीडियो में मैं एक हफ्ते का जीके और उससे रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस आपके सामने प्रेजेंट करूंगा। मतलब ऑलमोस्ट 45 मिनट्स के इस वीडियो में आपको ऑलमोस्ट 100 क्वेश्चंस गेन हो जाएंगे, जिससे कि आपका नॉलेज सिग्निफिकेंटली इंप्रूव हो जाएगा। और तो और हर वीडियो में जो रिसर्च के लिंक्स हैं वो हम कंपाइल करके आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट आवर क्लास नाउ।
Hi there, welcome to this video on GK for CLAT 2024. My name is Anand Venkateshan. I'm the founder of this platform, this website called mentorscapital.com. And in this video, I'm going to cover GK for CLAT 2024. और ये मतलब जो सीरीज में स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ आज से, जनवरी से लेकर दिसंबर तक एवरी वीक का आपको जीके का एक बुलेट प्रिपरेशन समरी टाइप्स आपको दूंगा करंट अफेयर्स पे। और दो अनाउंसमेंट्स है बिफोर आई स्टार्ट दिस वीडियो डिस्कसिंग द टॉपिक्स। नंबर वन, हर वीडियो में मैं जो भी सोर्सेज यूज करता हूँ, जो भी मैं एक्सटर्नल लिंक्स आई थिंक दे आर रेलेवेंट, आप रिसर्च कर सकते हो, पढ़ सकते हो, वो लिंक्स हम कंपाइल करके आपके साथ शेयर कर सकते हैं। ऑल यू नीड टू डू इज क्लिक ऑन द link in the description and those will be shared with you. और दूसरा है कि we also are giving you monthly GK tests. तो मंथ के जीके पे हम CLAT फॉर्मेट में काफी सारे क्वेश्चन सेट्स बना रहे हैं आपके लिए। And again you can access those by clicking and signing up with our website. The link is given in the description, right? So hope that you guys do that and hope you like this video. स्टार्ट करते हैं वीडियो को आज। तो जनवरी फर्स्ट वीक में क्या क्या टॉपिक्स हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। फर्स्ट वीक 2023, वेल क्वाइट अ बिट हैपेंड, राइट? सो काफी सारे टॉपिक्स है, राइट फ्रॉम मनरेगा, जीएसटी, जल्लीकट्टू, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन मिशन, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा। सो लेट्स गेट आवर सीट बेल्ट्स ऑन और शुरू करते हैं इस वीडियो को। पहला टॉपिक है मनरेगा। मनरेगा पे जो न्यूज क्लिपिंग है, दैट इज अबाउट द a study conducted on MGNREGA, which basically says that 57% of workers who used the scheme were women, and it's also given state-wise. If you read the entire article, there are statistics by state. तो ये मनरेगा पे आर्टिकल है और इस पे किस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस बनेंगे। तो पहला जो थॉट था कि क्योंकि ये स्टडी पे बेस्ड है, तो एक यूजफुल स्टडी है, कई जगह कोट हो रही है, which is the Azim study conducted by Azim Premji University, and you can see that these two questions आपसे इंफॉर्मेशन पूछ रहे हैं कि भाई कितने परसेंटेज वर्कर्स को, इंडिविजुअल्स को एक भी दिन की एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं मिली है अंडर मनरेगा। और दूसरा, वेल इफ मनरेगा इज सो ग्रेट, डिड इट कॉम्पनसेट फॉर कोविड, राइट? उसका जो लॉस था उसका कितना परसेंटेज रिकवर कर पाए हम बिकॉज ऑफ मनरेगा, कॉम्पनसेट कर पाए बिकॉज ऑफ मनरेगा। So the answers I will give you shortly, but there's one other interesting question which is obviously on the basics of मनरेगा, और भी हम इसको डिस्कस करेंगे, बट पहले इनके आंसर्स देख लें। First question, 39% of workers or households did not get even a single day of work during during the COVID year. So it's pretty steep, है ना? तो 39% did not get a job. Obviously, COVID made it worse. And 20 to 80% of the COVID loss is supposed to have been compensated, right? So Azim Premji ka study hai. Do go through that study. There are some other values, other interesting things that you will find there. Although these are the main numbers, and obviously MGNREGA was passed on the 5th of September 2005, and there are a bunch of other questions on MGNREGA, right? Where all is it applicable? Well, it's applicable everywhere except the state of J&K. Under MGNREGA, an applicant is entitled to daily unemployment allowance. कब मिलती है unemployment allowance? Well, 15 दिन काम ना करो, 15 दिन, अगर 15 दिन तक काम ना मिले MGNREGA के अंडर, तो you can claim unemployment allowance. What is the minimum percentage of works recommended by ग्राम पंचायत? Basically, ग्राम पंचायत recommend करते हैं और उनमें से how much percentage has to be implemented? तो 50%, ग्राम पंचायत 100 projects बोलेगी तो 50 of them have to be, minimum 50 of them have to be implemented. So it's a pretty powerful scheme that way. Who are eligible to benefit from the Mahatma Gandhi? Basically मनरेगा किन के लिए है ना, किन पे लागू होती है? Well, it is applicable to all members of any household in India. It's not rural वगैरह सोचते हैं, but the wording of the act itself says anybody can, right? So it's quite interesting. And there are two other questions: which government collects, compiles and disseminates unemployment data? क्योंकि हम इतनी सारी बात कर रहे हैं unemployment के बारे में, तो unemployment data collect कौन करता है, कौन सी organization करती है? That's the NSSO, the National Sample Survey Organization. That's who does the compilation. And Minimum Wages Act, क्योंकि इस मनरेगा में जो allowance वगैरह जो मिलता है या salary जो मिलती है under मनरेगा, you get it according to the Minimum Wages Act, and state-wise it varies. But the question is, when was this passed? And the Minimum Wages Act was indeed passed in 1948. So that's a bit of trivia. Second piece of news was on cybersecurity, right? Basically, AIMS के website को जो है hack कर लिया. Obviously, this was a cyber threat which was perceived, and there were some directions that were given, right? So what kind of questions can I face if it's a passage from cybersecurity, right? It will be about what kind of bills, right? Information Technology Act कौन से year में pass करी गई by the Parliament of India? Which nodal agency was created under the IT Act of 2000 to deal with cybersecurity threats like hacking? और तीसरा, in which years was CERT in? यही in fact organization, the answer to the previous question, but in which year was it formed, right? So the answers are 2001 was when the IT Act was, Information Technology Act was passed by the Parliament of India, and the organization that oversees, cybersecurity threats is the CERT in, or in ICERT. It's basically Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, right? That's the full form of ICERT, yeah, CERT in as it's called. And in which year was CERT in formed under the IT Act? Well, that's 2004. 2001 में IT Act pass कर गई, 2004 में CERT in form करा गया. और भी है कुछ questions. When is, what is celebrated on the second day of the second month of the second week of the second month? Basically, इस साल जो है 8th February को celebrate किया गया था. This was a day very important for cybersecurity because it's the Internet Safer Day, Safer Internet Day. Sorry. Which of the following has attracted criticism? Right? Which act? Not act actually. The answer is not the act, but there काफी कुछ basically. IT Act pass किया गया, उसके बाद IT Act पे amendment हुआ, उसके बाद that happened in 2008, and then in 2011 IT rules निकाले गए, और IT 2013 में और IT rules निकाले गए. पहली बार जो है IT rules निकाले गए थे to deal with digital, and then amended in 2013. I think it was for cybersecurity, and then in 2000. I think last year or so, there was another amendment that happened, right? So plenty of action happening around cybersecurity. And which of the following has attracted criticism on privacy grounds? Question ये है, as it gives the government the power to obtain sensitive personal information about individuals. So ये कौन सा act था? और in third question है, in one of the companies, सबसे बड़ा ब्रीच का एग्जांपल था जो 2013 में हुआ था, बट 2017 में पब्लिक को उसके बारे में बताया गया, राइट? तो ये कौन सा ब्रीच था? एंड द आंसर्स टू दीज आर, आई टोल्ड यू, सेफर इंटरनेट डे 8th of January 2023, और बेसिकली second day of the second month of the second year, second day of the second week of the second month. And IT Act 2011 was the one which was under controversy, क्योंकि इस अमेंडमेंट में इन रूल्स में ड्राफ्ट रूल्स निकाले गए, इसमें प्राइवेसी के काफी कंसर्न्स आए थे. And the big breach that I talked about happened at Yahoo. काफी ट्रिविया है इस पे भी. 2013 में हुआ, बट 17 तक इसलिए नहीं बताया गया because it was under the getting bought over. It was being taken over by Verizon Communications. तो उस दौरान Verizon को बताया भी नहीं गया, और Verizon ने फाइनली इसको 2017 में पब्लिक हुआ ये जब, तो पूछा गया कि भाई आपको पता था? And yes, indeed, they also knew about it. In fact, the actual price paid for the buyout was 350 million less, क्योंकि well आपने ये घोटाला किया है. So anyhow, that's a bit of trivia. A lot of links that I'm giving in the click on the link to access those. But काफी सारे links मैं compile कर रहा हूँ. One of those is also about the cybersecurity threats around the world. What all has happened, right? So it's an interesting read. Next topic है judicial appointments का. Well, 165 judges were appointed to the high courts. काफी बड़ी बात है बोल के, but it brings up the matter of the NJAC. And this is done by the law minister Kiren Rijiju. तो इस पे क्वेश्चंस क्या बनाए हैं? वेल, एनजैक जो है दोनों हाउसेस में कब पास हुआ था, कौन से ईयर में पास हुआ था? एंड अंडर द एनजैक एक्ट 2014, well, that sort of gives you a bit of a clue, right? That the National Judicial Appointments Commission was given the power to make appointments of whom all, है ना? So 2014 में ये इंडीड एक्ट पास किया गया था, और इसके अंडर चीफ जस्टिस एंड जजेस ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट एज वेल एज द हाई कोर्ट are appointed by the NJAC, right? So this was what was passed in 2014. However, where does it, the current collegium system that is used, where does it find its legal basis? Interesting question. There's a particular case that it finds its precedent or its legal basis from. And next question is, what was the Constitutional Amendment Act 2014? When was the NJAC basically declared unconstitutional? Right? When ye kab hua tha? And indeed happened next year. The Supreme Court Collegium consists of the Chief Justice and how many judges? Well, the answers are the legal basis for collegium system comes from 3 cases, the 3 judges cases. It's called. It's a very interesting read. What are those 3 cases? I would ask you to look it up. Click on the link to find out more. And the answer to when was it declared unconstitutional? At the very next year, 2015. So it's been in suspension since then. And how many judges besides the Chief Justice of India on the collegium? Were 4 senior judges, right? Senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Okay, next topic, UN resolution on Israel. Israel pe India ne again jo hai, we basically have abstained from voting. Basically, कि भाई, basically it's a resolution passed by the UN, or at least proposed by the UN, for prolonged occupation and annexation of the Palestinian territory. So basically, Israel Palestine के बीच में जो resolution है उसके बारे में है. तो obviously most of the questions will center around that. When was, on which day was Israel finally, formally established? Who's the current president of Israel, and which year it was, in which year did the Palestinian National Council declare themselves, as a state? And future questions are also there on this. But for now, the answer to these questions, well, Israel was formed in 1948. That's the 14th of May. History of, the formation is very interesting. Because 2018, I think the Act of Balfour was there. And according to the Balfour Act, basically UK had basically said that even before that, you can actually brought Palestine under state, under UK control, right? They were administering the state of Israel, the territory of Israel at that point in time. And they said, well, that in 2019, they said we'll create a land for the Jews, that we will try to make efforts towards that direction. And ultimately, काफी कुछ हुआ, world wars happened. And after the Second World War, that land was gifted to Israel and formally recognized in 2008, in 1948, 14th of May 1948. And that's when the state of Israel was obviously created. काफी conflict उसके पहले भी हुआ, उसके बीच में भी, आगे भी हुआ. There's enough and more to learn about. And then finally in as late as 1988 was when Palestine, finally declared itself as a state. Obviously, the conflict was always ongoing. And the current president of Israel is Isaac Herzog. So those are the answers to the first 3 questions. But Israel के बारे में जरूर पढ़िए. It's a Israel-Palestine conflict is very, very important. And one related resolution passed in UN was UN 242, United Nations Resolution 242. Date भी दी गई है 1967 में. And this was to secure a lasting peace of which war between Israel, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. So ये कौन सा war था? What is the current status of Palestine? Is it recognized? as a state, and what position does it hold in the UN? And finally, there's a more recent sort of happening, which is the Abraham's Accord. And this was the first peace deal to have been signed in a long time between Israel and an Arab country. And so, which are those countries? And the answers to these questions: 6-day war is when the peace process, the UN resolution 242 was passed to ensure peace. And the current status of Israel is a non-member observer state. So they are indeed recognizing it as an independent country, but as a non-member, can only observe. And next question: Abraham's Accord was Israel, Bahrain, and UAE. Right, so it's a interesting bunch of countries. Bodes very, very positively for India, because you need to have allies outside India, and especially uh, uh, if Israel can, I mean, not for India, actually, for Israel, it's great if they can ally with some of those countries and create some uh, disunion amongst the Arabs. So it works well for them. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक हम करेंगे जीएसटी. जीएसटी पे अपडेट आया था कि भाई कलेक्शन इतने हुए थे 1.5 लाख करोड़ इन दिसंबर, एंड वेल collections have been going up, and so that's great news in one sense. What kind of questions can you face? In India, GST was introduced as which, under what name? Constitutional dash amendment bill in 2014. So which amendment was it basically? And what was the motto? Who headed the task force that recommended that a national GST is required? And finally, in a Supreme Court judgment, which ruled that GST, the council's decisions, GST council's decisions are not binding on the state. तो ये कब हुआ था? तो answers इसके बहुत straightforward है. 122nd amendment is the answer to that question. The constitutional 122nd amendment bill 2014 was how GST was introduced. And the motto of GST is one market, one tax, one nation, one tax, one market. In 2014, the task force was headed by Dr. Vijay Kelkar, right? Kelkar committee. And finally, in question number 30, Supreme Court ruled, in May 2022, they ruled that, well, GST Council के recommendation state government को सुनने पे binding नहीं है, at least. So interesting tidbits there, followed up by a few more questions. Which of these countries does not employ GST? Which day celebrated as GST Day in India? The day basically GST was introduced is GST Day. Which of the following is not a benefit of GST? And which of the following is not an exception? है ना, कौन सा ये GST के बाद exception not available है आज भी? And which of the following is not a tax slab under GST? So ये simple वाले questions है, इसके answers देख लेते हैं. UK is the country where GST has not been applied. In Canada, in New Zealand, Canada, and Australia, GST indeed is currently applicable. Which day is celebrated as GST Day? 1st of July. Every year is celebrated as GST Day. And benefits में अगर आप देखेंगे, greater tax autonomy to in states is not a reason why GST was passed. It's more to streamline taxation, is to increase compliance and reduce corruption, right? So those are stated objectives of the GST. Which is not an exception. Well, octroi doesn't exist. Octroi has been removed, but you still need to pay customs duty. You still need to pay excise duty on liquor, on tobacco. There's no GST on petroleum and tobacco products. That's obviously not an that's actually an exception indeed. That's not the answer, is what I meant. ठीक है. Which of the following is not a tax slab? Well, 5%, 12% और 28% का tax तो है, but 18% भी है GST, which is probably more used across the world, across the country. But 21% is not a slab that exists. So, well, that wraps up GST. अच्छा, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है हमारा भीमा कोरेगांव. और भीमा कोरेगांव पे एक 205th एनिवर्सरी हुआ था. एवरी ईयर ऑब्वियसली न्यूज़ कीप्स कमिंग अप. इस पे किस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस पेश कर रहा हूं. विजय स्तंभ जो है was built by whom? Gallantry, it gives salutes the gallantry of the Mahar soldiers and who made it. What was the name of the event that was held recently in 2017, which caused a huge uproar? Which person, who was arrested died in custody? There are a bunch of other names which are, talked about, but which person died? And Supreme Court constituted a technical committee to investigate allegations of unauthorized surveillance. तो ये जो है, who is the former Supreme Court judge who's overseeing this case? This is the next question. तो इसके आंसर्स देख लेते हैं. पहला क्वेश्चन, विजय स्तंभ जो है ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी ने बनाया था. And number 2, the Elgar Parishad was the name of the event that was supposed to be organized in 31st December 2017. और इसके बाद ही काफी दंगे फसाद और काफी कंट्रोवर्सी हुई गई है. And Father Stan Swamy was one of the accused, one of the arrested persons who eventually was killed in custody. So it's quite sad that Father Stan Swamy had to leave this earth. And finally, Justice R.V. Ravindran is the judge who's currently hearing the case, and well, he's the one who's investigating whether. Sorry, he's not overseeing the case. He's the one who's investigating whether indeed surveillance जो है unauthorized surveillance spyware के through use किया गया था कि नहीं. Right? So that's the answer. Next questions deal with, next question पूछ रहा है, name the NIA judge who said it would take 2 more years to decide if charges need to be framed, and US based कौन सी वो spyware थी जो काफी ज्यादा infamous हो गई थी इस incident के बाद? Well, the answer is R.J. Kataria is the judge special NIA judge who said, well, it will take another year to just frame the charges. There's so much work involved. That's what he's maintaining. And finally, Pegasus software is the one which has been repeatedly mentioned here and there. Though, अगर आप थोड़ा सा भी न्यूज़ फॉलो करते हो तो ये काफी सिंपल क्वेश्चन था. All right, next topic उठाते हैं. ये है, this is about the milk cooperations in India, and this question. मिल्क कोऑपरेटिव्स के बारे में, तो ऑब्वियसली आनंद के बारे में तो होगा ही क्वेश्चन. So let's see what we have. Well, first question is, what is the brand name under which the Karnataka Milk Federation sells milk and milk products? And India contributes what percentage of global milk production? Interesting question. Global milk production का कितना percentage? और फिर 1970s में, what was the name of the program that led to creation of Anand and Mamul and whatnot? And who was the first chairman of the NDDB, the agency that created Amul, right? So what are the answers? Kafi simple hai. Nandini is the name of the company, is the name of the brand that the Karnataka Milk Federation it operates, and India contributes 21% of global milk production, staggeringly huge number. And the last two are very easy. Operation Flood was, brought the milk revolution to India, the white revolution in India rather, which was headed by, instrumental to it was Dr. Varghese Kurian, who was the chairman of the National Dairy Development Board that brought about Operation Flood, right? So इसके बारे में again link पे click कीजिए जो description में है, and you'll be able to access some follow-up links to do more research. But इसी टॉपिक पे अगला क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट इज द नेम गिवन टू, ऐसे काफी सारे रेवोल्यूशंस हुए हैं, ये कौन सा रेवोल्यूशन था? ये पूछा गया जो कवर्ड edible oil production, and the other question is what percentage of our edible oils, edible oil imports are accounted for by palm oil, right? So थोड़ा सा topical news है. The answer, yellow revolution, is mustard seeds. So edible oil production, we called it the yellow revolution because that's what we were trying to grow at that point in time. And as we speak, 50% of our imports of edible oil are palm oil. And it's interesting because this also segues कि भाई Russia-Ukraine war हो रहा है और palm oil का जो import है वो थोड़ा सा affect हो रहा है. So in fact, there was even a resolution by the parliament by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji ने एक mission launch किया है, scheme launch किया है, जिसमें the nation is trying to focus on palm oil, production of palm oil, right? And so that's to know more, click on the link in the description, but we'll tell you why this is important that we account since it accounts for 50% of our imports, हम इस चीज पे थोड़ा सा focus कर रहे हैं as a country right now. Good or bad, read in the article. Next topic, Brazil elections पे है. Brazil में elections हुए हैं, and Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, right? So Lula, as he's popularly known, came back to power in Brazil, और काफी धमाकेदार news था. इस पे questions है, which party did he belong to? What percentage of votes did he get? What kind of voting happens, right? What kind of voting system is there? What is the currency of Brazil? In which year did Brazil win the World Cup? Brazil के World Cup के बिना obviously topic नहीं complete होगा. And how many times has Brazil won the World Cup? When did they host last? And how many times has Brazil won? Right? And the answers are President Lula belonged to the Workers' Party, and he secured just 50.9%. It's, remember, a two-way election, so staggeringly close election, and it's called a two-round system of voting that Brazil employs for its presidential elections. Read more about it. And Brazil's currency is called the real, and Brazil hosted the World Cup Brazil World Cup was in 2014, and in total Brazil has already won 5 times. It has won the FIFA World Cup, and desperately tried to do so this year, but obviously they could not. चलिए, so those questions have been answered. अगले क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. Demonetization पे एक ruling हुई है, and basically according to the 4 judges of the Supreme Court, they found that there was no flaw in the way that demonetization was implemented. I know काफी controversial this ruling है ये, but anyway, you live with what you get. Questions. Who was the counsel for the petitioners in this ruling? Obviously, who represented the petitioners? Which of the following was not one of the objectives of the demonetization exercise? Who was the governor of the RBI when this exercise was carried out in India? How many times has it been carried out in India before the 2016 one? And demonetization in 16 invalidated what percentage of notes? Well, answers on your screen. The counsel was P. Chidambaram, who argued for the petitioners, and the link in the description also will also show you what and how eloquent he argued and what different things he talked about. But anyhow, coming back, second question: which of the following was not a stated objective of the demonetization exercise? It was not to capture more individuals in the tax net. Well, unintended consequence बोल सकते हो, but ये हुआ है. But this was not a stated objective, right? Who was the governor of the RBI when demonetization was carried out? Urjit Patel. How many times has it been carried out before? Twice before. And in 2016, it invalidated what percentage of the currency? About 86%. Decimals में नहीं दिखाया, but 86 and something is the percentage of notes that were invalidated in 2016. Okay, a few more questions. How many presses are owned by the government of India? 4. We have 4 presses in India, 2 of them owned by the government, 2 of them, they don't own them directly, but well, it's operated by an Indian agency. And it was the highest denomination ever to have been printed in India. Surprise, surprise. 10,000 का नोट था एक टाइम पे. How many languages appear? कितने languages हैं? Well, there are a total of 15 languages that appear on the currency note of India. And there was a mobile application that was launched for the visually impaired persons, and that application is called Mani, basically mobile aided note identifier, right? So for the mobile application that was launched, who is the current governor of the RBI, and this is Shaktikanta Das. I hope you knew this, right? Easy odd questions. ठीक है. Demonetization की बात कर चुके हैं. एक बहुत interesting topic आ रहा है next, which is online gaming. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology proposed an amendment, है ना, थोड़ा सा modify करते रहते हैं हर कुछ साल में. तो 2021 में जो proposal है, right, उसके बारे में था ये article. Do read the article. It's a very interesting one. Related questions that I could make: who is the CEO of the All India Gaming Federation? Did you know one like that existed? According to the IT Amendment Act, Amendment to the IT Rules 2021, online gaming will be, so ये इस proposal के हिसाब से who will be regulating online gaming, and what according to this, which of these is true? right? And so अगर आप देखेंगे CEO of All India Gaming Federation Law is Roland Landers, and according to the draft proposal, uh, you know, online gaming will be regulated by the platform itself. So the platform will set up, entity itself will set up self-regulatory bodies, and well, they have to prove that well these will be effective. So it's exciting times. And according to the IT rules, all of these are true, right? That betting on outcome of games is not allowed. Games of skills are allowed; they're legal, and it's mandatory still that you need to identify each and every individual who comes and plays. You need to collect their personal information, and then verify their identity, right? So that's mandatory. Um, what else do I have from gaming? Well, who's the Minister of State for Electronics and IT? That would be Rajiv Chandrasekhar. And which of the following states have banned the game of chance? And that happens to be Tamil Nadu, right? Where basically आप Dream 11 नहीं खेल सकते हो. So that kind of a situation exists. Well, next piece of news: harassment of women athletes. Uh, well, this came to prominence in News Daily. There was a big sit out, and the minister eventually had to cave in, and he basically resigned over this case. And what happened was that इसके बाद काफी follow-ups हुए. They met, the athletes did meet the government authorities, and well, it was in news for a long time. Questions क्या बन रहे हैं? Who is the current youth affairs and sports minister of India? And secondly, the live broadcast signal must be shared with which, in India at least, it must be shared with one organization. Which one is that? Simple answers. Anurag Thakur is the current minister for youth affairs and sports. And talking about signal, well, all broadcast signals for live telecast of cricket matches in India must be shared with Prasar Bharati so that they can play it on DD channels across the country. Okay, I have a few other very interesting, intriguing questions. Sports University, National Sports University कहाँ headquartered है? Well, answers देख के साथ में discuss कर लेते हैं. So if you want to practice, pause it, right, and then come back and watch the rest of this video. Well, surprise, surprise, the National Sports University, which is actually headquartered in Manipur. I think it was set up in 2015, right? And then in 2018, I think the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute for Youth Development was set up, and this is headquartered in Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu. And at the Beijing Olympics, India won bronze. Indian hockey won bronze, and the captain of the team was Manpreet Singh. And the agency that represents Indian hockey in international tournaments is called Hockey India, right? So those are some interesting trivia around hockey. Furthermore, who's the president of Hockey India? Well, that's an easy answer actually. Indian Olympic IOA जो है basically कौन से games के लिए athletes का list select करता है. And finally, who was the previous president of the Indian IOA? Basically, IOA का current president कौन है और पिछला कौन है? Basically, पता होना चाहिए आपको. Currently, it's Padma Shri Dr. Dilip Tirthi. And IOA, I think it's mentioned in the passage, it's PT Usha, who's the chairperson, and who's the previous president of the IOA, Indian Olympics Association, that's Adil Sumariwala. And indeed, IOA जो है सारे team selections IOA ही करती है, whether it's for Asian Games, Olympics, or the Commonwealth Games. All right. Next piece of news was inauguration of the Siyom Bridge by Defense Minister Shri Rajnath Singh. And it also said that this bridge was built by Border Roads Organization. So obviously I had to make questions on BRO, on Arunachal Pradesh, which is where this bridge was, etc. So what's the capital of Arunachal Pradesh? Which of the following is all set to become, the world highest railway bridge in the world? And what is the motto of BRO? Well, answers. Arunachal Pradesh ka capital Itanagar hai, and the highest railway bridge in the world, which will soon become one, is the Chenab Joint. It's called the Golden Joint, built over the river Chenab in J&K. And the motto of the Border Roads Organization is Shramena Sarvam Sadhyam, right? Basically, श्रम करने से कुछ भी साध्य हो सकता है. So it's a quotation, a very apt quotation, I would say, motto for the Border Roads Organization. श्रम करने से, मेहनत करने से इतने क्रेजी जगह पे भी कुछ भी हम बना सकते हैं. Well, more questions about BRO, right? Which of the tunnels built by BRO recently was declared, as the highest, as the longest highway tunnel at 10,000 feet or over. And who is the commander chief of the armed forces? We suddenly pivot क्योंकि हम बॉर्डर रोड्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, तो आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के बारे में भी थोड़े से क्वेश्चंस फील्ड करते हैं. हु इज द कमांडर चीफ ऑफ द आर्म्ड फोर्सेस? हु इज द करंट चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ? एंड अग्निपथ स्कीम के बारे में एक क्वेश्चन है, राइट? लेट्स लुक एट द आंसर्स. अटल टनल इज द नेम ऑफ the tunnel that was recently certified by the World Book of Records as the longest highway tunnel above 10,000 feet. The Commander Chief of Indian Armed Forces is the President of India. The CDS current appointee is General Anil Chauhan. And Agniveer scheme basically says that we recruit these young kids, and then after 4 years we'll review them, and 25% of them will retain their jobs with the army, and 75% will be let go, right? And we'll also give them a bunch of training, we'll give them certificate, blah, blah, blah. They'll make them employable is what they're saying. Do check it out. More details in the link that we can share with you. इस वीडियो के लिंक पे आप क्लिक कीजिए, आपको जो भी मैं जीके शेयर कर रहा हूँ उसका सारा सोर्सेस लिंक्स जो है आपके साथ में शेयर कर दूंगा. All right, next piece of news is Jallikattu. Right, Jallikattu पे एक अपडेट है कि constitutional bench is supposed to give a verdict, and that's going to come up soon. And so what else can we ask you about Jallikattu? We can ask you, well, the Prevention of Cruelties Act was passed in which year? And which act deals with the protection of wild animals, birds and plants, and ensuring the ecological and environmental security of our country? And finally, which name the collective of organizations that they group up and it's represented by one. What is that called? Well, 1960 is when the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act was passed. And the one that deals with specifically wild animals, plants, birds, etc. is called the Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. That's 12 years later. And then the organization FIAPO is the collective that you're talking about, the Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organizations, FIAPO, right? It's the collective. And it's also interesting that there's also been history of an ordinance that was passed by the governor of Tamil Nadu, and you should do a little bit of reading about this. Ordinance ka pass karte hain. It's a substitute for a bill. Obviously, the houses should not be in session at that point in time. It's valid only for 6 months. So there are some intricacies about it which you should check out, right? But here, who was the governor when that ordinance was passed? A multiple choice question on ordinances ki unke kaun sa sahi hai, kaun sa galat hai, as applicable to ordinances. Who is the current Union Minister of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy in India, right? Relevant. कौन सी ministry है, उसका Union Minister कौन है? And finally, what is the penalty proposed in the in the amendment bill it's going to be passed, right? Answer, well, C. Vidyasagar Rao was the governor of Tamil Nadu when this ordinance was passed, and indeed the ordinances passed by the president have the same effect as the act of parliament, right? They're valid for the same amount of time, and so they have the same effect, and the same holds true for the governor also. But what cannot happen is that even if one of the houses is in session, then ordinance nahi pass ho sakta. Isliye statement 2 is not true. 1 and 3 are indeed true. And Purushottam Rupala is the Union Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. And the proposed penalty for gruesome cruelty to the animal is proposed at 50 to 75,000 rupees, right? That's indeed quite substantial. Okay. More questions. Next topic is the National Green Hydrogen Mission, and it was recently update मिला है इस पे जनवरी में, और इस पे questions क्या देख रहे हैं हम? Well, India's energy ka, which portion comes from fossil, what percentage comes from fossil fuel. When was the National Green Hydrogen Mission announced by the Prime Minister of India? And name the intervention program that they have, that creates incentive mechanisms, financial incentives for this, to enable this. Well, answers are 60% is of India's energy requirements comes from fossil fuel. It's a staggeringly, bada number hai. And as early as 15th August 2021, the Prime Minister ने जो है announce किया था कि हम National Green Mission, Green Hydrogen Mission पे हम start करने वाले हैं. And CITE is the abbreviation for the basically agency, and basically this one is called the Strategic Interventions for Green Hydrogen Transition, right? So ये transition करने के लिए financial incentives बनाने के लिए CITE करके एक program set up की गई है. So it's good to know that. And then who's the Union Cabinet Ministry who basically who basically heads the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. And basically India का update हुआ है, nationally determined contribution NDCs जो बोलते हैं. So what is the update? How much has it become now? When was climate change COP27 कहाँ हुआ था? COP28 कहाँ होगा, ये भी पूछ सकते हैं. And Paris Agreement में कितने signatories थे finally, right? So the answers, well, Shri Rajkumar Singh is the cabinet minister for new and renewable energy, well, India's updated, from 33%, we're now gone up to 45% of our. We've committed to reducing emissions intensity by 45% by the year 2030, right? So that's the updated sort of mission, updated sort of commitment made by India. COP27 was held in Sharm el Sheikh. COP28 will be held in Dubai. So Conference of Parties, climate change की conferences होते हैं. And the Paris Agreement has as many as 196 countries that signed the agreement, right? So also consider reading up about how many ratified it, when the ratification happened, right? So it's intriguing bit of news. The Decennial Census, 10-year census के बारे में एक news आई थी. And very quickly इस पे क्या हम इस type के questions expect कर सकते हैं? Who is responsible for conducting the census? Who holds the position of, well, that's the office actually, Registrar General, Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India. And in which year was the first census conducted in India? Census Act कब pass हुआ था, enact हुआ था? And in which year was an act passed to, start measuring births and deaths, right? So answer first question का दिया हुआ है अगले statement में actually, Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner of India, and currently it's headed by Dr. Vivek Doshi. In 1872, as far back as 1872, the first 10-year census, wasn't decennial at that point in time, but the first census in India happened in 1872. And in 1948, the Census Act was passed, and basically responsibility दी गई थी कि भाई आप करोगे census conduct. And in 1969, the basically census organization was also given the responsibility कि भाई आप ही births or deaths को भी आप measure कीजिए. In fact, birth certificate registrar office से ही मिलता है, that. Anyhow, last news that I'm going to take up, actually second last news, foreign universities in India, it basically facilitate कर रहे हैं हम top 500 universities across, in ranking terms, to come and set up universities in India, and relevant questions. So because this was done by, UGC. So, well, who's the chairperson of UGC right now? In which year was UGC established? Who was the chairman when it was recommended, right? Who was and where is the headquarters of the UGC? And किसके ऊपर model करी गई है? Which country's system are we modeling the UGC on? Right? Answers to these questions. Mamidala Jagadish Kumar is the chairperson of the UGC right now. UGC was established in the year 1953, and the chairman of the committee that recommended this, these improvements was Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, right? Wonderful sort of recommendations. What a wonderful person he was. Headquarters UGC का Delhi में है, New Delhi में है, and we've modeled the UGC after, surprise, United Kingdom, right? Very straightforward. Well, last topic, for this week was for the first week of Jan was same-sex marriages, है ना? एक pending है, the Supreme Court is supposed to pass a verdict on this. It's a sensitive topic, and so same-sex marriage पे ruling आने वाली है. So which section was earlier in the news because it was criminal up until 2018, September 2018 that it was same-sex or homosexuality was deemed criminal, right? And so which section was this? An historic ruling was made, right? And what was the ruling about? Who headed the five-judge amendment, a five-judge bench that heard amendments that challenged petitions to that particular section? Section 377 is the answer. And in which year did US recognize gay marriages? And which year did India's Supreme Court recognize transgender as a third gender? So बहुत interesting story है इसके बारे में भी, right? But first of all, let's answer these questions. 377 was the section which criminalized homosexuality until 2018. It was repealed by the Supreme Court on 6th September. The Supreme Court ruled that it would be allowed to have gay sex amongst consenting consenting adults in private. And this was headed by then the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, and they heard petitions and then they said no, it's decriminalize it. That's what happened in September 2018. As far back as 2015, the US Supreme Court had already recognized gay marriages. We're currently talking about that. And ironically, in 2014, the Supreme Court had already recognized transgender as a third gender. So it was ironic because 2014 to 2018, you were recognized as a gender, but you couldn't have sex in public. You couldn't have sex even in private, right? So it's kind of an anomaly. I'm going to leave you with this, for today. I hope आपको मजा आया. I hope relevant information मिला. Do click on the link in the description. Do give a thumbs up to this video. And yes, absolutely consider registering for free on our platform. You get one free mock और बहुत बढ़िया mock से बहुत research करके बनाए हैं. अलग-अलग scenarios के लिए आपको मिलेगा. CAT के pattern पे भी है और थोड़े से variations भी करे हमने. So all in all, it's one test series which will definitely test your mettle. So consider registering in the link given in the description. Thank you. Have a great day. Wish you all the very best.